we like to and other people like to or society likes to, you put a box around that.
For sure.
That's who you are now. That's what you do. And if you have any aspiration or ideas or creativity or you want to try to do other things, whoa, no.
Yeah.
This is who you are.
All right, so welcome back. Yeah, welcome back to the Pay It Forward podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Keagan, and
my name is Austin Seward, and I am your other host today.
awesome. So we're super excited to have our new guest on today's episode, Pastor Jon Reiner from First Free Church. So really excited to have him on. Known him for a long time. Great heart. Love what he's doing. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot of beautiful insight and some awesome conversations. So Jon, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself? I mean, I did a little bit, but just tell us a little bit more about who you are.
We could only hope I have some insight. Austin, we can only hope. Yeah, Jon Reiner, live in La Crosse, pastor at First Free Church, one of the teaching pastors. Born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, so I'm around the Wisconsin area basically my whole life. And done a little bit of this, that, and the other thing, but almost everything I've done has revolved somewhere around public speaking, teaching, something along those lines. So inside ministry, outside of ministry. But yeah, talk a lot. That's what I do for a living, is talk a lot.
You're in a good place.
Hey,
It's a good, good
I know, I
scenario.
landed in a good spot here.
Yeah. So obviously you are in ministry, but because I know you personally, you also have some cool, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
That you know me personally?
Roles reversed. It's a good thing I know you, but you coming on, whatever. What have you done before ministry? Because you were quite an athlete.
Oh, geez.
Rumors say. Is this true?
Yeah, I was an athlete. I played sports that are irrelevant to America.
Mm-hmm.
I was a soccer and a rugby player. And soccer for 7 or 8 years, something like that. Rugby for 2 or 3, and ended up doing better in rugby than I did in soccer.
But how good in rugby?
I was All-American National Champion Team USA delegate for rugby.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah.
national team.
National team.
So how many people are on that team?
Well, the team that I was recruited to play for Team USA, I turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
But that delegate, it's a 15 side plus you have your sub, so less than 20 people in the country.
Out of the
country.
A lot of people
Out of the
play
country.
rugby,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Kind of impressive.
It was a great run. Yeah, it was fun, but
What position?
I was a strong side winger, so I was if anyone knows rugby, because we all know
I was
rugby
even going to
positions.
ask if there were positions in
Yeah,
rugby.
because we all know.
No, scrum.
Yeah. So I was outside of the scrum. So the scrum are your big guys. Those are your forwards. Those are guys that are like 500 pounds of pure muscle,
You're
but
not-
they
you're not
run.
that?
But they run. No. But they run like a 2-second, 30.
Yeah.
Then you have like your backs. Those are the guys that are like the runners. So in rugby, you can't throw the ball forward. You can't pass it forward. So everything you have to do is backwards. So, and you can't block for anyone. So you just run really fast and try not to get hit. And so I was kind of like the last runner on the side who was usually your fastest runner. So that was me.
So you're fast.
Yeah. So I luckily got to score a lot of points because you're kind of like the last ditch effort. They give you the ball and then ask you to
Yeah, because it
run.
kind of pitches down the line. and
Pitch
all
it
of a
to the
sudden
next
you
person,
got
next
it,
person,
green
next
grass.
person, and then if you can get it that outside guy and he can take off, and then he'll score. And then I was our kicker as well, so I would kick our points and score our points.
And
So that was rugby.
Yeah, I don't know much about rugby, but you did kind of get me into Aussie rules football.
Aussie.
Can you remind me what my favorite team is?
Oh, Port Adelaide Power
Port Adelaide Power.
was your favorite team.
But we both, I
Yeah.
know this answer, but we both super dislike
the Hawks.
the Hawks. We hate the Hawks.
We hate the Hawks.
Hate the
They're
Hawks.
garbage.
Yeah, garbage.
Yeah, the Hawks are kind of like the New England Patriots of the United States there for years.
Yeah, they're
where you're like,
unbelievable.
they always won and you were mad at it.
Yeah.
That was about it.
all of our
Yeah.
all of our Aussie rule football fans are just going wild right now.
Yeah.
You guys
They
are
also-
speaking Chinese
They have to
me.
watch it like 2 a.m. on ESPN because it's the
Yeah.
only time that they have it.
There you go.
Yeah, so I played rugby.
Awesome.
Why?
But then you go ahead.
Why did you choose not to play on the Team USA?
Team USA.
Yeah.
So it was right after high school. So it was juniors Team USA. And that year I would have went to South Africa and been in the Junior World Cup. So Stars and Stripes, national anthem, the whole bit. But my decision was either college soccer, Team USA rugby, or go into ministry. And I chose ministry. So it was a hard call. Actually, the coaches for Team USA offered to fly me. I went to ministry school in Australia. They offered to fly me from Australia back to South Africa just to play in the World Cup. But I was like, I can't. Like, I have an outreach I have to go on. I'm supposed to go to another country. Like, so it was a hard call, to be honest with you, because it's kind of a big deal, and it could have set up a whole different trajectory for my life. But I said no, and it just so happened that the year that the Junior World Cup was happening in South Africa, the Pro Men's World Cup was happening in Australia, where I was. And so the city I was living in ended up being a host city. And one of our outreaches I was doing with this ministry school was at the Salvation Army. And they were doing like face painting booths outside the stadium. And so I was sitting there painting a couple's face, and they would just come in, look at a sheet. Like, what do you want on your face? I want this. And somehow I'm supposed to be an artist. And so I'm painting faces with another person in our ministry school, just, whatever. It's a flag, it's the team emblem, it's whatever they want on their face. And then the whole time we're just having conversations about life with them. And they asked us, one couple said, do you ever get to watch the games? We just laughed. Like, no, we sit out here in the parking lot and paint your faces. You guys go in and watch the games, and we go home, And they're like, well, 2 people couldn't show up for the game today, and we have 2 extra tickets. Do you want to go? Do you want to sit in on it? And I was like, I was just coming off of, basically retiring the cleats. I had no other chances to play. And I said, that would be awesome. I checked with our ministry leaders and like, yeah, go for it. Like, you're not going to get this opportunity again. They happen to be rugby fans, so that was helpful. Like, go for it. So I had no idea who was playing. It didn't matter. I was going to go to a World Cup game. So I go in the stadium, I sit down, I take the tickets, I go in there, get our seats, we sit down, and it ends up that I get to go watch Team USA play a game in the World Cup when I just let go of playing for Team USA. And so it was kind of a cool moment. Like, the capstone of me playing rugby was watching what would have been or could have been on that field and realizing I chose ministry instead. So.
Yeah.
Did you have like a moment where you're like, I chose right? Or did you ever doubt your decision? Like, it's pretty cool that you're at a World Cup game.
If you look up the videos, there's a guy that was just running onto the field.
That was you.
Put me in.
Yeah.
No, was there a regret moment? No, I don't think so. I think there was peace in it. It was what it was. I think I was done. So I let that one go. It was a good season of my life. I achieved a lot more than I should have because I only played for 2 or 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, I only played.
Oh.
I started junior year of high school. I played junior year, senior year, and then post 1 year high school, and then that was going to be Team USA.
Wow.
And
I was going to say, well, yeah, that's a tough decision. You put all this, a lot of times, like with sports, I put all this work in, and now all of a sudden, do I want to choose this other path? I've, put 10 years of my life towards this thing. But you put 2 or 3 years, so maybe that. Not
so it wasn't as much.
Yeah.
It was more of a forward sacrifice than a reverse sacrifice. Sometimes, like you're saying, you look back and realize, how much did I put into this?
Yeah.
So I'm sacrificing all the time and effort that led up to this moment.
Yep.
For me, it was, I didn't put that much time into it leading up to that moment. What I was sacrificing, what could have been in the future. I was letting go of whatever career or traveling or playing overseas or whatever. I was letting go of that. But yeah, it wasn't so much that.
But still cool. I mean, obviously good enough to where they're like, no, we'll come and pick you up from Australia.
Yeah.
We'll pick you up and fly you to Australia.
Yeah, coach was like, here, I have these travel miles. Let's just cash in on them.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's incredible.
That is.
Anyway.
And so then explain to everybody, that was your intro to ministry. Is that when you started full-time ministry?
Sure.
Was that moment?
Yeah, 18
and then
years old.
What kind of just explain the process to where you've gotten now and how that roadmap kind of panned out.
Yeah, so I 18 years old, what I chose for that ministry school was like a discipleship mission school in Australia. So 6 months over there full time, you had to raise support. And so it was like 4.5 months of lectures and local outreach, service, things like that. And then you took a month and went to another country and did practical ministry stuff. So I did 4.5 months in Australia and then a month or so in Papua New Guinea. Very diverse country. I think it has the most languages spoken in any other country, like 800 or 900 different languages are spoken in this super small country. And they're diverse climate-wise. They have a rainforest, but they also have the beach. And then they also have it's just all diverse, almost like a Hawaii. I know you've been to Hawaii, so it's kind of
Big fan.
you can go 20 miles in one direction, you're probably in a different sort of climate. And so that was Papua New Guinea. It was almost as if going into like National Geographic was what it felt like.
Really?
Oh, for sure. It's just a lot of the areas were primitive. When we went into some of the mountain villages, we were the only white people they'd ever seen in their entire life. So it was very much a culture shock and change. So I was there for about 7 months. I ended up spending another few weeks, another month, just traveling around the world to different places. Came back to Wisconsin and got plugged into a local worship and prayer ministry. So I was on staff there full time as a worship leader and a teacher and a kind of a staff leadership role, helping people. I started a youth internship, a youth program there. That's where I ended up meeting my wife. So if you ask her the story, she'd say, "How'd you guys meet?" She'd say, "He was my teacher." And then I have to say, "Whoa." I have to say, "Hey, whoa, a little context here." Yeah. I was not like her high school chemistry teacher or something like that. It wasn't that. It was she was 18. It was a ministry school. Like, that's where I met her. I worked there for about 3 years. We got married. We spent 3 months down in Kansas City at a ministry down there that was a worship and prayer ministry. And on the road down there, we found out that the ministry I was on staff with was closing down. So when I came back, it was probably only about a month or a year of not having a job. But in that year, I ended up getting cancer. And so that was its own kind of journey. And then I went on staff with a local church in Madison for about 3 or 4 years. And then I got called up here to First Free.
Shane gave you the call?
Shane did, yeah. So I was doing ministry at a church and in-home like small group discipleship classes. And I was on staff at this health club, the Princeton Clubs in Madison. I was one of their club managers. And so my phone went off. I looked at my cell phone and said, Shane Holden. I don't remember the last time I talked to Shane Holden.
Yep.
Picked it up, and he said, "Hey, we need some help up here. Would you consider coming up and filling in a role?" So that was it. Came up here. That was 2014. So
yeah, I remember because it would have been the old gym.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and then I was there for your first sermon, and
you've been telling me I've botched it ever since.
That is our ongoing joke. I don't think I've really paid many compliments. I think everything is, well, you really botched that one. No, because then it was at that point when then I would have asked you to disciple me and stuff, which is a whole nother story because I'm super easy to disciple. But yeah. So
that was the journey.
That's when we met, and now we're back alley neighbors.
Now we're back alley neighbors. Yeah. Now I'm here to give you guys advice on real estate, numbers and percentages and
all the secrets of
the market.
Yeah.
Yep.
The highs and lows. Yeah.
What is your
bears and bulls?
Yep, not so much.
Bears and bulls of the houses.
Yeah. So what's your what are your thoughts on the housing market?
It's an extra charge. That's in the after show. That's in the after show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome. So now, I mean, what is your passion and focus right now? Obviously, in ministry, there are tons of different things, and the Lord's always moving in your heart. But what has been the thing that's kind of impressing you right now? Like, is there a big topic that the Lord's put on your heart, or some type of focus that He's moving you in? Obviously, what's happening with First Free, in case people don't know, just awesome stuff. Like the Lord's moving in beautiful ways.
Yep.
But also He moves in beautiful ways in our individual hearts and in your guys' hearts. So, I mean, is there something specific to you that the Lord's really highlighting and focusing or moving you towards?
So, at First Free, I think the big thing, you mentioned God's just doing some incredible things. A lot of people are just having, some just profound moments in the Lord.
Yeah.
It seems like something stirring. And so a big thing that we're emphasizing there, just as a teaching pastor, is really trying to equip people as believers. How do I live in our society and our culture today? Mm-hmm. How do I equip them to stand firm? How do I equip them to know what to do or conversations to have or how to stand on stances? And how do I give them a perspective that gives them a hope and a future in the midst of what might seem like a lot of darkness and confusion and what place does a Christian have or the church have or Jesus have in our culture today? So that's one aspect, I think, on a professional level at the church, is trying to create opportunities of teaching and community where people feel like, man, there is a hope. Like there's good and beautiful things that are happening, and I want to make sure that I'm prepared for those things and not overcome with discouragement and a lack of hope and, oh man, the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Giving people a little hope for that.
Yeah.
So that's like the professional focus, I would say. And then I know you and I talked briefly on a personal level. One thing that's I've been learning in this season is just really wrestling with the question of, can I be more than one thing? That's something that's really been probably for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Of, I think we can often have, this is what you do. And so we like to, and other people like to, or society likes to, you put a box around that.
For sure.
That's who you are now. That's what you do. And if you have any aspiration or ideas or creativity, or you want to try to do other things, whoa, no.
Yeah.
This is who you are. And so if you get outside of that box, then it's all of these negative connotations sometimes of, well, could you not cut it at the first thing?
Right.
Or were you not really invested in the first thing?
Mm-hmm.
Is your heart really not in it? Did you give up on it? And then to add it, if you add a spiritual component into it, it's almost like, oh, so did you lose your calling? Did you miss your calling? Oh, are you walking away from the Lord because you're doing something else? And so there's a professional thing I think that's been stirring in me lately. And then on a personal level, it's man, can we be more than one thing? Or is that it? All you can be is the one thing of the one box that you put yourself in. You either leave that box and enter into another one, or is there room and flexibility to try multiple things in your life?
I think, so many people find their identity in the profession, right? And spot on of like, this is the box that you're in, and I either have to move from this box or the next box, I'm the same way in the business world of having different businesses and different things of like, obviously we only have so much time in the day.
Sure.
But like everybody sees me as the real estate guy, right? And that's just kind of how people even see you, if not even how you see yourself, but other people see you. And if they see you starting to do something else, it's always, is that failing, or is he giving up on that? Or, you know what I mean?
Not really invested.
For
is
sure.
Your heart not really in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think, I think you did a sermon on it a while back of identity and our identity as believers, as disciples of Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's our identity, and whatever our calling is, doesn't need to be our life's calling. It might be a 3-month calling or a 6-month calling or a year calling. And, man, I think there's a lot of people that maybe are afraid to do that because of what other people might think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, we only have so much time in a day, but we also only have so much time in my life.
Yeah.
And that's the sobering thought for me, is I don't want to it might sound cliche, but it really is real for me. I don't know if I'm on the verge of like a midlife crisis, about to hit 40. But you're like, I don't want to look back and say, I kind of wish I would have tried that.
Yeah.
And I didn't because other people wouldn't have gotten it, or I would have let someone down, or someone would have misinterpreted it, or I was scared of taking a risk. And so you have this whole list of things that you wish you would have done, expressions, creativities, passions, ideas that you just didn't walk out on because it didn't really fit in this. It didn't fit in that box. It didn't fit in the box that you created or the box that other people created for you. And so I guess this is all I can do.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we hit things like burnout. We wonder why we hit things like midlife crises or career change, because I can only do this one thing. So I just have to grind as hard as I can in this one area, get as far as I can up the ladder in this one area. And then if I reach it, well, then I guess that's life. That's
Do you think there's a line though? Because like my generation, I don't know what the stats are, but they don't stay in a job very long,
it's
right?
like 2 years.
2 years, go from one job to another
Sure.
and there's no, what's the right word? Not a sense of, they just, it loses its sexiness and its fun,
sure.
and
Yeah.
go to the next thing. And so where's the line
that's
between
true.
like God's calling me to do this, or I really feel like I have an opportunity to do this, but am I just being flighty and not having fun in what I'm doing? Or is that really what I'm supposed to be doing?
Sure. No, I think there should be a level of commitment
Yeah.
in some things that I'm doing. I want to commit myself to whatever season or duration in this job and this responsibility. I want to do it really well. I don't want to just leave because I'm offended. I don't want to just do something else because someone rubbed me the wrong way. I want to make sure that I'm invested, right? That's what word says. Whatever you do, do it with excellence, right? As unto the Lord. I want to do that, And so I think that there is that flightiness that's different than, okay, well, I am doing this thing. Like you're saying, I do real estate, but I might want to do other things, right? Maybe Austin wants to be a balloon artist. Right. Down at Mallard's at the Logger Stadium, Why can't Austin be a balloon artist? He can if he wants to. Try it, right?
Yeah.
Can we plug that later?
You're not gonna like it though.
You can
insert graphic of a balloon animal right there. Yeah. But why can't I do right? It's just there has to be. Is there flexibility to do other things? And I think it's difficult because you're gonna run up into the walls of you're probably gonna let someone down.
Yep.
Or someone's probably not going to understand you, or someone's going to see it wrongly. And those are really hard and really difficult.
Yep.
And so, yes, there's definitely the commitment and the flightiness level. I totally understand that. But the flip side of it is, okay, I'm going to do this for as long as I feel like I need to. But if I have an opportunity here to do maybe more than one thing,
right?
That's what I'm talking about. Can I do more than one thing?
Yeah, because then it's almost like the Lord called me to this one thing. Then I'm done listening now. He's not gonna, as if he's just not going to call me to anything else ever again.
Sure.
Well, nope. I'm a pastor now, so that's it. Oh, now I'm in real estate.
Yeah.
But the Lord's calling us to different things and new things all the time, which isn't always necessarily leaving the one for the new thing, but like you said, it's branching off and diversifying. Especially people have so many talents in different areas. Like if the Lord's wanting to move and do things and impact people's lives in multiple places, then why not?
Yeah.
So, but who knows? I mean, why do you think people are holding back from that? Is it fear? Is it they're worried about their perception on the outside, or is it a lack of understanding and really knowing their calling and their purpose? What do you think is the major holdback for people in that?
Major one, not. The ideas that pop in are some of the things you mentioned. There's a fear. Sometimes there's a fear of a risk. There's a fear of there's a day, Keagan is my next door neighbor or backyard neighbor, and so he's telling me about, one day he's talking about, there's this investment property I think I might go into, or this, that, or the other thing. And I'm like, my gosh, I kind of wish I could think like you. There's little to no risk factor in my life. So the idea of, we'll buy this property and then partner with this property management company and just get tenants and it'll take care of itself. I'm like, that sounds great. What it looks like in my mind is somehow I have 2 properties, but I'm paying 3 mortgages, and it's probably going to fall apart as soon as I buy it. And then I'm not going to be able to fix that. And then we're going to be upside down. And then me and my family are going to be homeless.
Yeah.
Like that's where my mind goes.
So crazy.
I look in the living room. I see a crack in the plaster. I'm like, great, my house is falling down.
Yep.
Like that's me. I have little to no risk. I'm sure I could do a lot more with my life if I had more of a risk factor. But so I think part of it is the fear.
Yep.
A lot of it is the self-perception and how other people are going to perceive you, based on the title, the creation, the boxes that we have put ourselves in.
Yeah.
People aren't going to understand it. People are going to think differently. I have to get used to the idea that I'm going to let people down. And that's really hard for a lot of us. I don't want to let people down. I don't want people to think wrongly of me or differently of me. And so I'm just not going to push the envelope. Because if I do, then they're going to think something.
Right.
And then there is the individual calling aspect. And sometimes I don't know how to even approach that word, my calling.
Yeah.
Is my calling the thing that I do? Is my calling the way that I've been designed and the functions that I'm able to do? So is my calling to be a teacher? Is my calling to be a pastor at First Free Church? Because you can be a teacher in a lot of different ways. Yeah. Is Austin's calling to be an entrepreneur? Well, then you can do a lot of different things as an entrepreneur, So is my calling a function, or is it a specific assignment that I'm doing? And then that's just supposed to last forever.
Yep.
In that thing.
Sounds really fun.
And if you leave it, you do something else, well then that spiritual component will wreck you. Because now all of a sudden it's not just someone who doesn't identify as a Christian, but they're a teacher and they're wrestling with, wow, I'm kind of getting tired of being a teacher and
Right.
the pay isn't great. So I could make more money doing this. Okay, well, maybe they feel a whole lot of freedom to go and do that. When you put a spiritual component on it, then all of a sudden it's, well, maybe I'm missing my calling.
Right.
Maybe I'm letting God down. Maybe I'm in willful disobedience before God because you decide to do something else with your life. That's a whole lot of stress to live
But
under.
that hits home with me, and I'm sure it hits home with a lot of people that are Christians that are in the business world of, I'm still a little bit confused because the Lord called me to work at First Free for a while and into ministry, and that was this tough battle of, right, I have this level of responsibility now to provide for my family, and there is that tension of, am I loving money and then almost choosing money over God, or am I doing the right thing and the duty to provide for my family?
Yeah.
There is that wrestle and that tension
yeah.
of, am I leaving my calling and or do I need to give it more time? Is it a new calling? It does. The spiritual component definitely creates a tougher situation than just, I'm going to go do this other thing, when maybe it is, because I felt in certain times of my life, the Lord called me to the certain thing for this certain amount of time.
Sure.
But when it's not so clear of it's going to be this certain amount of time, then it
Yeah.
is. Am I being selfish? And I'm sure it's probably difficult for you because you do other things besides just pastoring.
Mm-hmm.
It might even maybe be tougher for you since you're inside the church of, well, no, John, you're the pastor.
Exactly.
Why are you chasing these other things?
That's what you do.
What, are you going to leave, or are you being disobedient? Are you chasing the money, or what?
Right.
What is it?
Yeah. That's exact. And those are even the things that have been said over time is, well,
Yeah.
you're building your own kingdom, or you're
You're putting yourself
well,
above
then you
God.
can't have any like, that's it. That's the only thing. But what's ironic about that is that from a ministry perspective, if anyone comes into our office and says, well, I feel like the only thing I can do as a believer is go into occupational ministry, we would say that's ridiculous. Please don't.
Right.
You shouldn't do that. This isn't the only thing you can do. God's calling more people not to be in occupational ministry. But you talk to someone in occupational ministry and it's, well, you better not do anything else.
Right.
It's kind of like, oh, okay.
Everybody else can, but now that you're in the country club, you can't. You can't come into this club, but now when you're in the club,
There's
you
no
can't
getting
leave
out.
the club.
Exactly. I will say that if you really are called to ministry, you won't be able to escape it. In some ways, like there'll always be a pull in some way or another. There'll always be some sort of pull to be involved in some capacity, whether you're getting a paycheck for it or not. There'll always be some sort of pull. If you're not really called into like full-time ministry,
Yeah.
it will kill you. And you will not enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be made very, very clear. It's just one of those jobs. I'm sure there's other jobs like that. It's demanding, often underappreciated in some, like, I'm not trying to, this isn't like a pity party or a shout out to any of the producers here,
behind the camera.
but it's one of those, it's just one of those roles. I know there's a lot of other roles in our culture and our society that are like that. And so I think if there really is a calling or a pull on you, you won't be able to get away from it. But if it's not there, my goodness, please do something else for sure. But there is that pull of that spiritual component. If I do something else,
But that's where trust and faith come too, right? If I believe God got me to where I am and I'm going to do it in obedience to Jesus, like he's going to call me to this other new thing. Sometimes it's just this lack of like trust too, right? I'm going to, if I'm, like you said, there's this constant pulling towards me. Do I trust him enough to guide me to where I'm going to be?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not always this clear, this is what you're doing next. And this audible voice from heaven rains down on me. But instead it's an opportunity. Like you said, there's an opportunity in front of me. And we should take time to pray about it and seek the Lord in it. But now sometimes I feel like the Lord is either saying, well, what do you want to do? Sometimes, not all the time. Or just nothing. Like, do you trust me?
right?
Make a decision.
Yeah.
And then if I make the wrong decision, guess what? God loves me a lot more than I probably even love myself.
Sure.
I think he's going to get me if I'm going to continue to follow him and be faithful to him, he's going to get me back to where I need to be. So sometimes it's just a lack of like trust. And what if I step out and I do this thing? Peter takes a step out onto the boat, right? And then as soon as he finally is like, oh, my surroundings, then he falls in.
Yeah.
Oh, you have little faith. We do that all the time, just even in the business world or in our own lives. Like take a step of faith, step out on the water, look at the one who you're actually following. If he got you to this point, he saved you and did all these things anyways. I don't think he can guide my career path or get me to where he wants me to be. It's almost like sometimes it's almost a little bit of arrogance. Like we have so much power. Like as in like, I don't trust God. God can't control my life. God is so much bigger than sometimes
Or that his
what we
whole
perceive.
redemptive plan for human history is based on you having and staying in the right job.
Yep.
And if you don't do it, it's all blown out.
Right.
The cross didn't matter. Everything else doesn't matter. It's whether Keagan is at the Austin group long enough.
Yep.
You know, like, and if you're not,
Time's ticking.
sorry, dude. Like,
Yeah.
but I think there is a lot of arrogance, or we put a lot on us, you know, and when I've taught in the past about, am I going to miss the will of God?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we make it so small. Like every single decision that you make from the time that you're born is either going to help you hit that target or throw you off of that target. And it's super small and really hard to get. So where you live, who you date, who you marry, what job you have, what school you go to, what major you do, whether you go to school or not, where you get your first job, your second job, all of that is either going to line you up to hit the target, God's will, or not. And so the example I use is, oh, sorry, Keagan, like, my will for your life was in La Crescent, not lacrosse. It was so close. You were so close.
Just the other side.
You blew it.
That's it.
That's it. Sorry, man. But I think sometimes that's how we approach it, is that it all hangs on every single decision that we make. And that's where I see a lot of young people, and have seen them over the last 20 years of being in ministry, is a lot of young people specifically hesitating to make any decision with their life. Young believers.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, what if it's the wrong one? What if it's not the will of God? I got to throw some sheepskin outside and see if it gets wet in the morning, to see it. I got to test.
We got to bring that back.
I got to test everything. I got to test everything to make sure that it's the right thing and not the wrong. Like, dude, come on, just do something. What's an interest that you have in your heart?
Yep.
Chances are the Lord probably put it there, unless it's like, I'm going to go in the porn industry.
Right.
The Lord probably didn't put that one in there.
Did
but
not.
otherwise, there might be a chance that, okay, go for it. Maybe he doesn't care that much. That might sound like super non-religious, but maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he cares more about your character and your integrity and your honesty and your ability to live out his attributes in your relationships, whether it's in the workplace or the business world, the ministry, or whatever. But like, maybe he's not that concerned about what you decide to do in this one moment.
I think there's so much, especially with the prevalence of social media, there's so much external pressure on. You go to high school, then you go to college, and then you go and get your corporate job and get a new car and then go buy a house. And like, there's so many people, like specific in real estate, we have a lot of younger real estate agents and people that are nearing the end of college or at the end of college. Or I just talked with a kid a few days ago, and he's been an engineer for 6 months, and he's like, this is not what I want to do. Like, just went to school for be an engineer, spent tens of thousands of dollars to be that, is in the job for 6 months, and I can't do this for much longer. But I think there's such a pressure from society of that's what you have to do and that's what you're supposed to do. And I think we're at least moving a little bit farther away of being more acceptable of the trades and business and stuff like that versus the traditional college. Just because, man, if somebody has a little bit of work ethic, there is so much opportunity in the business world to start a business, to be an entrepreneur, to start a podcast, to do whatever. And really whatever you're passionate about, there's plenty of ways to monetize that. But I just think there's such a pressure of what you're supposed to do. And my younger brother, Luke, I'll use him as an example, but he got accepted into PT school at UWL. And time went by, he got closer and closer to starting and graduating from his undergraduate. And he's like, I really don't want to do this. And I applaud him for making that decision before diving into that and of the pressure from family for sure of like, hey, this is a great job to be a PT. And so I just think social media and the prevalence of it, there's kind of pushes you in the wrong direction for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of the comparison aspect. There's a lot of the how am I supposed to live? And now there's, my whole career path is to be a social media influencer. And that's my career path.
Right.
As we said on our podcast.
Yep. So that's my hope. That's a thing now. So I can be that. For sure.
Yeah, good luck with that. I mean,
good luck.
You're looking at like the top,
it's a
whatever.
saturated market, right?
That's what they say. I don't know. I'm not.
That's the inside lingo.
Yeah.
In case you want to know that.
Saturated market. That's right.
In the after show.
But I mean, it just really is true. And just going back a little bit to that fear of stepping out, I think it's relatable for Christians. I think it's relatable just for business in general, but specifically for Christians, it's the same thing as, so you're so torn apart about making a decision because you love God so much and want to do what's right that you're just going to do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Isn't it possible that, like, again, trust and faith, I love him so much and I'm so worried about whatever and this because I love him so much because I'm following after him. That's probably a good thing. You're probably going to end up in the right thing. It's kind of like the new believer, right? And then they come to you and they're like, man, I'm just struggling with so much sin and I just suck and I'm the worst and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, did you feel that way 2 months ago? Well, not really.
Yeah.
Maybe God's actually working on it. It's actually a good thing that you are now feeling that.
Yeah.
That's actually the Holy Spirit residing in you
Yep.
and shaping you more into who Jesus is.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing in terms of calling and business and following and doing all that.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And it reminds me of the story from the New Testament that Jesus told where he gave people like a certain number of talents, right? There's like 5, 2, and 1, 10, 5, and whatever. And he goes he gave 1 to 1. Dude had 1 talent, but he had something. And he said, the guy comes back to see what did you do with what I gave you? And he said, well, I buried it. What do you mean he buried it? Well, I buried it because I was really afraid that you were going to come back and be disappointed. I was afraid that I was going to do something wrong with it. And so I just buried it so that at least you would have that. When you came back, you would just have that 1 talent. And he's like, and the master, and in this case, it's supposed to be God, was like, you idiot. That's what he said. You idiot. You wicked, evil idiot. At least you could have invested it and I could have had some interest. Like God's talking about like gains here. He's talking
In
about
real
percentage
estate,
gain. Yeah. At least you could have invested it with the Austin Group. Insert logo. Yeah. At least you could have done something, right?
Keagan can be your agent.
Right? But instead you buried it. And he's like, now throw him out. Throw him out to be eternally punished because you didn't do anything with it. And it makes me think what you just said. Like, to try to please God, we're so afraid about doing the wrong thing that we do nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's the response that he's looking for.
Yeah.
Go
Do
after
something.
Go
You've
after
been
it.
given
Have
a lot.
Go after it. Have a fire and give it everything you have, as opposed to do nothing because I'm afraid of failure. Go fail and then learn from your failure and do it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bible's teaching me because I'm afraid of failure, I'm going to do nothing so that I don't fail, but I'm safe.
Yeah.
It didn't turn out so well.
Yeah.
That's actually not the right approach.
Yeah. You actually failed at not failing.
Yep.
Yeah, you did fail. Well done.
By not trying to fail.
Anyway.
We're going to fail one way or another anyways. At least give it a go.
Yeah.
Make it fun, right?
Right.
I always joke, hey, if I fail in this, I can always sell my house.
Right.
With my own license. So, there you go. Awesome. Well, why don't you share a little bit about, obviously, you are doing other things. That's kind of the whole thing we were just talking about. What are some of the other things that you are...
I got nothing going. It's just an idea, really.
It's just off the top of my head.
It's just something the Lord's teaching me, but I'm really afraid to do anything else.
Right.
So.
But I'm
hoping
actually...
you guys
You
would
are the...
encourage me.
Nope. Actually, you are still just the teaching pastor. That's your 1 talent, and you have hidden it
That's
away.
all I'm doing.
No, but you're doing other things. So why don't you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
share with everybody some of the other avenues and businesses and things that you're a part of?
Yeah, so one thing that happened in the last handful of years is I started Seminary for Theology. That's like grad school for religious people.
There you go.
And so I was doing that, and long story short, I ended up getting my master's in Holocaust and Genocide Studies. Yeah, that's
The only person,
something.
right?
There's very few people. I'm not the only, but there are very few people. I don't know if there's anyone in this area that has one, but very
Not in
few
this
people
room,
that have one.
Not in this room.
I don't think there's another evangelical teaching pastor in the country that has a master's in the Holocaust.
Right.
Yeah, that might be unique. And so what I started with that is the same year that I got my master's, there was a nationwide study that happened that just said basically knowledge about the Holocaust is dwindling amongst Americans, specifically millennials and younger. And so now state by state, Wisconsin was just a couple of years ago, are mandating Holocaust education across the country. So every middle school and high schooler has to have some sort of Holocaust education. And so one thing that I've started to be able to do is I can go into schools, churches, and I teach workshops on the Holocaust. I partner with schools that way and collaborate with some of the other Holocaust scholars around the country to offer Holocaust education. So that's one interest thing that hasn't really been monetized at this point yet, but it's another interest thing. It's kind of like, well, I have this. Might as well do something with it. I like teaching, so that might be my calling. And I have this opportunity and I have this knowledge, so let's do something with it. So that's one thing that started happening in the last couple of years. And then just last fall, in a space wrestling with this idea of, is there something more than I can do? Do I only have to just be one thing? And I just decided to, for lack of a better word, I don't have a business mind. I don't have that. I would love to have it maybe one time, but it's just not there at this point. One day I might have it. I have a lot of ideas. That's just a classic guy. I got a lot of great ideas.
Yeah. I'm just the visionary.
I'm the visionary. I got a lot of ideas. I got someone else to do it for me. That'd be great.
You're quoting me. I'm a big picture guy.
I'm the 30,000-foot guy. I need someone. I need boots on the ground.
Yeah. You know why? Because I actually have no idea how to operate a business.
Because all I do is come up with ideas. I need someone else to make me money.
Right.
So if you know anyone,
I have this idea for an app.
Contact me. Yeah.
I feel like you guys are picking on me.
No, not at all. I'm kind of jealous.
We're the big picture guys.
So I was trying to figure out what else could I do? How can I invest in me? Like what other interests do I have that I can do? And I really do enjoy speaking, and I do enjoy helping other people get better at speaking. And so I just started searching what public speaking coaching, things like that. Do I want to try to do it on my own? I found a company out of California called the Moxie Institute, and they have, they do an incredible job of public speaking coaching, one-on-one coaching clients, everything from small business owners to CEOs of Fortune 100 companies, workshops in a lot of those companies as well across the country, and then international contracts. And so they weren't hiring. I just saw some of their previous job openings on Glassdoor or whatever else. And so I sent a general contact us through the email or website, said, what does this look like? Like, what does it look like to be a public speaking coach? Blah, blah, blah. And they responded back and said, first thing is we would take your resume if we were hiring. We're not, but we would take your resume and like a short video clip if you have any video clips of you speaking. And
I have a whole database.
And then they said a no budget, just iPhone video of you talking because we want to see what you're like on a screen. So I sent that in and didn't expect anything else. It was kind of one of those pie in the sky, whatever, This company's got a lot of big companies that they work with. They don't want to work with me. And so a couple weeks later, they said, hey, our CEO wants to do a video call with you. And so I got to sit down with her. She was great, fantastic. Her name's Sophia Fastbinder. Got to sit down and talk with her. And she said right at the beginning of the call, we're not hiring anyone. We don't have any job openings, but I saw your resume, saw your video. I wanted to talk to you at least. It was an hour-long video chat. At 45 minutes in, she just stopped and said, how do I hire you? Like, how can I get you on our team? And so ever since then, it's not like I didn't leave the church, but it's been a wrestling match. And this is the first time really publicly talking about it. So, So if you need a real estate agent in the future, I might be looking for a job. But it was one of those. But it's been life-giving. It's on the side. It's contract. It's not. I'm not technically on their full-time payroll or anything. But it's an opportunity to go to different cities and interact with people. And what's been incredible is I don't think there's been a single contract that I've gone to another country or an individual one-on-one coaching where I wasn't able to talk about the Lord, come in contact with believers around the country, encourage them, for me to come in as like their business professional development coach, but then also pray with them, talk with them. Like when they've opened up and said, well, I'm a believer. Like this is what life is like in my business. Like, hey, let's talk about that. How can we talk about that?
That's awesome.
There hasn't been a contract yet where I haven't been able to somehow still do pastoral stuff in the midst of that.
Which is cool. I mean, that's a super easy way of doing ministry in business, but literally amongst the business people, like a care pastor.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is a wrestling point for some of us in full-time ministry is the reality that we spend little to no time outside of the church. Mm-hmm. And that should be a conviction point. And it wasn't a conviction point for me for a long time. Well, this is just my job. And so all my friends are believers. My job is believers. My extracurriculars are believers. Everything is believers. You're not really around anyone else, especially COVID, everything shut down. So now I just work out at the church or I do whatever. Like I don't even have to go to the gym. I can just do everything in this really small, closed Christian bubble. This has been an opportunity that's been incredible. I get to just go around and I get to meet people and they ask me, so what else do you do? I'm a pastor. Oh, really? And I get to interact with them on that basis. And I thought for sure I'd have to hide it. I did. Like, I just
Right.
thought in the corporate world, in like the Fortune 100 corporate world, I can't just go in and be like, oh, I'm a pastor.
Yeah.
They say, please tell people more that you're a pastor. Tell people that you're a speaker at a church. Tell people that this is your history. Tell people that this is what you do. And so as I'm able to do that, I'm able to interact with clients and customers and whatever else in a context that's outside the church and realize, gosh, it feels good to sometimes not be around church people.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's actually kind of refreshing to be around the rest of the world. And so it's been life-giving on many different levels, but that's probably been the biggest one that I've been doing recently. It's just one-on-one coaching with individuals who just need help. Their job requires them to do public speaking and they're terrified to do it. And so I get to sit down with them, help them, coach them, or we can go and do a business and do a full workshop for a whole team, sales teams, marketing teams, CEO, C-level teams, and help them do what they do better. So that's been the biggest thrust that
That's
I've been
awesome,
able to do.
though.
So yeah,
For sure.
And just it's an easy way to meet people where they are. I mean, you talk about that all the time in the church, but unless people are coming in, it's like you said, going out and actually meeting people where they are. So
yeah,
super
it's
cool.
been life-giving. So that's been the last year, I think, since last August, I've been able to do that more. So
Awesome.
Awesome. I might be in the market for that.
Yeah, he needs to talk.
might be able
He
to
needs
offer.
to talk better.
Right.
me no talk so good.
So how have you found it now doing these other things, work-life balance with your family?
Yeah.
Balancing ministry, that speaking job, Holocaust studies, and
Yeah.
family life.
Yeah.
And then to top it all off, your full-time job is ministry. Then on top of that, also your own individual time with the Lord.
Sure.
How has work-life balance changed? What have you learned?
Yeah. Everything was great till we got a dog.
Yeah, but my son loves that dog.
We can't get rid of our dog because Addie loves our dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
That
comes over-
really wiped everything out. No, how is the balance? I try to be really honest with it. So, Austin, you asked me, I had a podcast for a year, the Jon Reiner podcast, and I really loved it. I
Plug.
enjoyed if you could just plug that real quick. You can go back and listen to episodes from a year ago. I really enjoyed it. That was life-giving as well because you're in a context where you're a speaking and teaching pastor, and I'll have a lot of freedom to express myself in that way. But what if I have other ideas or other ways I want to communicate or other stories I want to tell? This was an outlet for that. So I really enjoyed doing it. But it got to the point where I realized, time-wise, I have a wife, I have 3 girls. It just wasn't possible. So it was, okay, I still have all the equipment. I have the website. I have the podcast platform. I'm just going to shelf it for a little bit. I think being honest sometimes with that. If you feel like you have these interests and you can be more than one thing, but then you have to go 100% all the time, yeah, you're going to burn yourself out. So when I'm at home, I try to be as present as I possibly can. I don't do it perfectly, but I do try to be present, and I try to be honest with my wife about it. Hey, I would like to record this podcast, or hey, I need to do this Zoom call. Here's the calendar. Let's set it up so that they're aware of it, rather than just drop in. Oh, sorry, you need to take care of everything because I'm going to go do these other things. And
You all need to not
Good
move for the
luck.
next hour because I'm recording a podcast downstairs.
if you turn on the
No
water,
jumping.
there's no dinner for you today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been a balance. I've had to say, there's been a couple contracts I've had to say no to that would have been fun traveling around, but we just realized it was a lot. And I have to prioritize it. And so in reality, the thing that takes up the most of my time, this can sound terrible for anyone to say, throughout the day, the thing that usually takes the most of our time is whatever our full-time job is.
Yeah.
My family is my main heart focus.
Yeah.
But what takes up my time is usually what my full-time job is. And so I try to keep those two things at the center. So I have my full-time work at the church, and then I have my family. And those are my 2 main pillars, right? Of course, with my own time with the Lord, but as far as how do I distribute the rest of who I am into those 2 things? And then I've just realized capacity-wise, people have different capacities. Some people I think are a little weak on their capacities, but I'll just leave it. You have some people like, well,
You're really looking at me hard. when
no,
you
not
said that.
you. You ever had that? You have some people who are just, I don't know, man, like I'm working 15 hours
Yep.
and I'm beat.
Yep. Or
That's
not
all I
even
can
that,
do.
It's just I'm so busy or I have so much going on. Like, are you really? Like,
Yeah, let's lay it
let's
out.
look at your calendar.
What do you
and
have
see where
going
your
on?
time is
Hey,
being
come on.
spent.
I have my days where I say, hey, those were tough 5 emails.
Right.
And I am exhausted. So
That was
I
a
need to call
really
it a
good
day.
Jordan documentary. I had to get through that.
So I'm exhausted. I answered 2 phone calls.
Right.
Okay.
3 seasons of The Office.
And And now all of a sudden it's 7 o'clock because I wasted my day and I need to rest.
Right.
Because tomorrow's coming really fast.
It was exhausting.
Yeah.
No, not you. I try to recognize what are the main priorities, but then also what are our needs. And so there are seasons I think sometimes we can over communicate the work-life balance and not realize there are seasons you just need to grind. And I just know that. Yeah. There are some times you just need to do work. And my wife and I have had those conversations. So I need to take on extra contracts. I need to put in extra hours. I need to do extra work because we need it. We have 3 kids and a single income, 2 jobs, a single income, 5 people in the family, and now a dumb dog. So it all costs money. And so there's a reality to that. And I think sometimes us as a younger generation need to be aware of that. Sometimes you just need to work hard for a season. It's not going to last forever. Work really hard. And then communicate with the people that you love and let them know this is why we're doing it. They recognize we need to do it. So get it done. And then when you're not working, be as focused as you possibly can with family.
Yep.
If that makes sense. Sometimes it's just not the best, like, 25% is here. No, like this season,
sure.
I need to work really hard because we need money.
Yep.
So we're going to do that.
Which is why it's called a season.
Yeah.
Not all the seasons are the same.
Yeah.
I've been told it's more of a rhythm than a balance, right? What's your work life, kind of your rhythm of your day, than trying to split it 50-50 or put things into different buckets and, buy real estate for a season and then you'll be good for the rest of your life.
It's
We need to
scary.
talk.
You already said it's scary. Oh, you
I know,
got
but
a
I'm
dog.
sure it'd
The
be
dog
great.
was
I'm sure it'd be
enough.
great, right?
Yeah.
The idea of passive income, I'm like,
Yeah.
what is that?
You're right.
What is that?
Well, the passive income part is still a mystery to me.
That's a mystery.
Because
It doesn't seem passive. It seems like
it does
have
not
to do a lot.
We've been renovating him as we go. So you're like, oh, he's so brave and he took this risk. Yeah, right. You're talking to a guy
would
who's
be a
got
whole lot-
anxiety. I don't know if it was a great move. It will be down the road, but not right now.
Yeah, it would be a whole lot easier too if I knew anything about fixing things.
Yeah.
If I could go in there and do the work myself, I would be so much more at ease.
He doesn't.
But I don't know how to do anything. Like I said, if there's a crack in our plaster, I think my house is falling apart.
You know what also you can't do?
A lot.
Hit bats with tennis rackets. Remember that?
Yeah, I tried.
You
to hit it
don't
with
like
a
bats.
shovel. I don't like anything that flies, and
Yeah.
I really hope this is how we end the podcast.
It's not
I
how we're
don't
going to
like-
end it, but it's a great segue.
I really don't like anything that flies. Birds scare me. Bats terrify me. If I walk outside in the summer and a butterfly flies right next to me, I'm probably gonna scream.
Really?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
jump. But the small things, I love hunting. I can go in the woods, not be scared at all about a deer, a coyote, or something else.
Yeah.
But if something flies right next to me, I'm jumping.
No, it's bats for me. And people say, oh, they're not even that big. Yeah, they're not big outside. Bring them inside. They look like 7-foot eagle wings, okay? And so this is a true story. My wife wakes me up one day. Sorry, super off topic, but let's go down the bunny trail. Wife wakes me up. We got a bat in the house. I say, babe, there's no way we have a bat in the house. I look up. I go, my gosh, we got a freaking bat in the room. So what do I say to her? Like a good husband, I say, well, pull the sheet over your head because I can't do this. I did. I said, well,
fend for
hi.
yourself,
I did.
I'm out.
I said, we'll sleep under the covers.
I'll be down
I
at the
can't do
hotel.
this. She's like, you gotta get up. So I go, okay. Only thing I got is a Tupperware or one of those packing storage tops. So I grab the storage
my
top. I go,
gosh.
I can't do this. I go downstairs because the bat flies downstairs. And every time the bat's not there, I'm brave. Oh, here's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna whack it. And it's gonna, well, don't. I know you can't kill bats. So I didn't.
Protected species.
Yeah. So nope, didn't do that. I was thinking about shooing it away. Anyways.
Except in self-defense.
I'm big tough, and all of a sudden, okay, here comes the bat. As soon as it comes, I am on the ground, legit.
Oh
my wife
my
came down,
gosh.
curled up in a ball. It's whatever. It's out there now.
It's like cold
terrified,
chills. Like
terrified.
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
it'd fly away, and I'm like, gosh, you're such a baby. It's just a stupid bat. All right, here we go. And then it would fly at me, scared. So guess what I do? Call John. Guess who's no better? John. No joke. The first time
he
the bat
calls me. Yeah, he calls me. He's like,
Yeah.
I got a bat in the house, and I'm going to bed. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to come.
It's like 10:30.
And he's like, John, you have to come. You have to come. Help me with the bat. And I'm like, gosh, okay, I guess I have to try to be a good friend. And I went over there.
How did the story end?
Well, the first time
I didn't have a tennis racket.
I think so. We got tennis rackets. So he comes over.
I brought a snow shovel.
He brought a snow shovel in my house. But the
I'm
first time
swinging a snow shovel.
I have him to be my protector. Here comes the bat. Okay, John's gonna get it. I got his back. No,
and by back, he means the person underneath me.
John whips behind me and pushes me down, and he's
Because it's his house.
And
you know? Whose responsibility is it?
he's crouched down behind me. He's worse. And then we had to call our friend Ben Fruit. He got it. 90-mile-an-hour curveball.
But on a second trip,
comes
on
in.
a second trip, it took two
Two
ventures.
First night, bat lived. So next night, it's still alive. Next night comes Ben Fruit, 90-mile-an-hour fastball into the hutch.
Well, like
See you
our
later.
strategy the first night was leave all the lights off. That's terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Don't leave the lights off. The bat comes in with the lights off. You can't see
also,
anything.
bats don't swoop. Yes, they do. As
Oh,
soon as
they
they
swoop right at you.
down at your ankles. Well, I can't.
Oh, the ankle shots were the worst.
I can't hover in midair, so I am not safe anywhere.
You
Anyways,
guys ever heard of a BB gun?
You can't kill him. Yeah,
can't
a
kill
BB
him.
gun? What do you think you're doing here?
yeah, that'd be.
I can shoot trap.
Right.
This is not trap.
Right.
Hey, Dave, you mind coming back over to my house? We got holes all over.
Well, we're
this
trying to figure
place.
out because it was in his basement, but there's no doors in his house, so nothing can be closed off. So everything is just open access from the
Open
basement all the way down.
concept.
But not just open, like the whole house is an open,
Yeah.
So everything is
beautiful.
open. So it comes up from the basement, swoops through the living room, then
Does the
goes
left.
back down the basement.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to call it in.
Oh my god.
And so
we
as
had
a hunter,
we had bat sounds.
so
Going
as a
on Google.
hunter, I'm like, we need calls.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So
YouTube.
we YouTube bat calls, bat noises,
50 minutes.
mating calls.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're trying to bring it in for the the nighttime
my
loving.
gosh.
Yeah.
And so
it's about that time.
we turn on let's get it up. And so we turn on so it's like a dolphin. So we turn on the bat noises on YouTube and we put it in the room, and then it arrives. It shows up.
Oh my
it
god.
It
comes
wants to be
in
there.
like walk.
It's like
literally bat flies in. Hey, baby. Finds out it's us.
yeah, he's got his own Barry White soundtrack. He comes in and he just swoops around our heads. I put a hole in their wall.
He did.
Because I didn't have a tennis racket. I didn't even just
dented
have
my
like
wall.
it wasn't even like a plastic snow shovel. It was like the big push metal one.
Yeah.
Like somehow I'm gonna throw like a 20-pound shovel in the air and hit that thing.
Nope,
it's not gonna happen.
you destroyed-
Not with its sonar.
Destroyed my
It's got
sheetrock.
sonar.
It does.
Didn't work. Ben came in, finished it off. So that's another thing I'm not good at. So all that to say,
Yeah, what's the moral of
all
the
that
story?
all of that to say that investing in a property, I would just imagine I need to fix everything. It's gonna fall apart and it's gonna be infested with bats.
Yes.
And I'd be like, great, this was my financial plan. Sorry guys, we gotta go live with mom and dad in Madison. I'm gonna commute for work.
Yep.
Thanks,
you go.
Austin.
All Austin's
Oh
idea too.
man. What a story.
So if you have any good properties you want to throw my way, and
You
some
have
cash
some
to
good
do it.
properties.
Austin's house is actually not bad, and I think he's been thinking about selling. Because, as we say in real estate, it's the perfect time to sell and
Always.
the perfect time to buy.
Right.
That's what
Always.
agents say.
Yep. Always.
Now is better than later.
Yep.
If you gotta buy, you gotta buy,
Yeah, yep.
and you know who to call.
Buy high, buy low. Sell high, sell low. Bears and bulls.
Oh, that's
Well, that was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else to? Anything
I
else to
think
add?
I gave you enough wisdom for
I was
now.
going to
think
say
we
the
got
one
it.
question we forgot to ask him is, how would you define success?
Right. Right.
But I think we got it.
You got
through,
it.
through the various streams.
You got
but
it. You got
yeah,
it.
just wanted to thank you.
bats.
Thank you for coming on, and it was super fun.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate
was
it,
fun.
John.
Thank
Yeah.
you
For
guys.
real.
And thank you to your
Great.
producer.
Yeah.
Thank you to our producer.
We
Ruth.
don't. Oh, we don't give her. We don't give
put
her
her
a
name
shout
out there.
out.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Ruth, for what you're doing back there mixing.
As I joked before the show, she's not underappreciated. She is not appreciated. I'm just kidding. We appreciate her. The show couldn't happen without her. She's the best. But no, for real.
Yeah.
Super awesome insight. Was an awesome
For sure.
awesome time, awesome
guys.
episode.
Thanks,
we really
guys.
appreciate you coming on.
Thanks.
So,
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We sincerely hope that you found value in today's episode and learned at least one thing that you can take back and implement into your lives and businesses. As always, we appreciate your support and hope you can all find a way to pay it forward this week.